Okay. Well, hello and welcome to our teen panel tonight, or our panel of young people, I should say, not necessarily teens. Um, my name is Scott Gallagher, and I work at Raritan Learning Cooperative, and we're a self-directed learning cooperative in Flemington, New Jersey. And I'm joined by Allison Snikes and Mary Beth Healy. They're also staff members at Raritan Learning Cooperative. Alexis Sellers is a staff member at Bucks Learning Cooperative in Langhorne, and we have four panelists tonight. Two of whom are current members of our cooperatives. One is at Natalie, who's at Raritan Learning Cooperative, and Ben, who's at Bucks Learning Cooperative. And we have two alumni, Kat, who is at Raritan Learning Cooperative. She moved on last year, and Constantine, was at Princeton Learning Cooperative, and he moved on 2016. Is that right? 20, was that your last year? 2016. And so we're just going to go through one at a time, and we just figured we'll go youngest to oldest. So we'll start with Natalie, and we're just going to hear their story. And so for each of the panelists, we talked about this, but I'll just remind you, if you could just give us an idea of what life was like before joining the cooperative that you joined. What was school like? How are things going? What sort of brought you around to joining the cooperative? And then, like, what did you do? How do you spend your time, or how did you spend your time when you were there? And then for the alumni, you can tell us how life is beyond the cooperative, what you're up to currently, and how you got there. So without further ado, oh, also I'll say, if you have any questions, feel free to just put them in the chat. We'll keep an eye on that. And if it's a question for a panelist that's currently speaking, we'll try to get to that question right away, or we could save them to the end. Okay. All right. So Natalie, you get to go first. So take
Okay.
it away.
Um, so before I went to PLC, because I went to PLC first and then we moved, so I was closer to RLC, started going there. I um I was in middle school, like seventh grade, I think, and there was just like a lot of issues. I it was kind of hard for me to focus in such a big class, I guess. I had 88 I have ADHD. I did not know that at the time, but it was hard for me to focus on things. Um there were like these smaller class options, but like those were gonna go away the next year. I wouldn't be able to do them anymore. So um I also uh, hated my teachers. They were all terrible. Uh, I I remember I had gotten points taken off of a geography test for drawing lines in like we had to like draw the certain areas of the US in like different ways colored in, I guess. And I drew lines vertically or horizontally, and they were supposed to be the other way, and I got a lot of points taken off for that. And um, yeah, and then my Spanish class was also like, annoying. Uh, there was it was right after lunch, so I had to run over to my locker to put my stuff away, which is on the other side of the building, and I had to run all the way back up the stairs through the crowd of screaming sixth graders trying to get to lunch to get there, and I was late every time and I got lunch detention. Um, and then my science teacher also made fun of this one kid's hair, like obsessively. It was like really weird. Like it wasn't just like a one-time joke thing. Um, so yeah, we kind of started um looking for other things after that. Uh, so mostly my mom and dad did that. We're looking, and we found PLC. So I went in to like just kind of have like my like orientation, I guess, and it was great. I we went hiking in the woods, and I felt like I kind of already had friends there on the first day. Everyone there is just like super welcoming. Um, so I guess now I I talk to my friends. I have a lot of classes. I kind of just like put all my classes on Monday and Tuesday so that I had Thursday and Friday mostly off, which is great that you can do that here. So I'm busy those days. I have been learning Norwegian. I want to go to Norway or live in Norway eventually. Um, I kind of just take on a lot of random uh, projects, I guess. I've been drawing every country's flag. Um, I've been like learning about the flags too, like the meaning behind why they have that. Um, and I feel like you just get to know people a lot better at RLC and PLC because like there's less people. So you get to know everyone better and you have more time to actually talk to people rather than just like the one lunch period a day. Um, so yeah. Um,
Oh, thanks, Natalie. Can I just ask you to just give one detail regarding Norwegian? How are you learning Norwegian?
uh, I have I'm using like a lot of different websites and apps and stuff. I've been watching TV and movies in Norwegian, and I changed all the settings on my phone to be in Norwegian, so I'm kind of forced to learn it. Yeah.
Awesome. And how about the other thing is interest that we didn't have a class, or actually we don't really have a class, but how about chess? Can you say a little bit about chess?
I play chess sometimes. It's just, I don't know, I just enjoy it. I um we have I have someone comes in and plays chess with me every Tuesday, I think. And that's fun. I don't know.
How does that go?
I win.
That's right. That's right. You pretty much demolish everyone at RLC. Um,
Hmm.
he at least can like hold his own a little bit. So yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah,
comes in play.
yeah.
Okay, thanks so much. Okay, moving on to Ben.
Hey there, I'm Ben. I'm with Alexis at the Bucks Learning Cooperative. Um, so I guess there were a lot of factors that built up over time that made me I never liked school. I was in Ewing High School. Um, for those of you, if you any of you know that one, and I think the major catalyst was the pandemic, as it was for a lot of my friends. Just that, like, the everyone stopped caring, and I guess I stopped caring about school, right? Like, I realized I could just turn my camera off and not do anything on Zoom, and I basically sat and played Tetris for a year straight every day. Um, and you know, obviously my mental health declined, and when everyone came back in person, I just there were fights all over the place. Everyone was cheating, like it was just a really bad environment. And um, just I think my parents showed me BLC as an alternative. I think they were desperate, so they just like were trying to find something, but I don't know. The I think they found something that was more than an escape for me. I really believe I feel like I've been able to thrive here. Um, uh, when I got to BLC, I know it takes a lot of people will say that it took a little while before they started to go to classes, or they maybe uh, just sat by themselves for a while. But I kind of hit the ground running and took like filled up my entire schedule with classes. And I think that's just because the no no now before I think at public school learning was kind of like accidental, like you did the work to make your to get a good grade, um, and then forgot it once it didn't mean anything to you anymore. I don't know, at BLC I think that I I learn because I want to, like because the stuff is genuinely interesting. um and I don't know, that's really allowed me to pursue a lot of my interests, both in classes and on my own. I am sitting behind my wall of tools over there. So I'm do a lot of woodworking and pottery. Uh, so uh, and I'm really into physics. And yeah, so a lot of stuff I can do on my own. I just do it because I I like it, and that's not something that enjoyment is not something that public school would have cared about. Um, yeah.
And do you want to, sorry, Alexis, do you want to add a little something?
Yeah,
Ask Ben a
I don't know
question.
if Ben, if you would like to talk about it, but last semester or last year, Ben taught a class, primitive technology, and it was a semester-long class, and I went up taking the class, and it was one of my favorite classes I've ever taken in my life. And I don't know, Ben, if you want to like talk about that class at all.
Oh yeah, sure. I that was really fun. I yeah, like Alexa said, I did primitive technology. So we would um, uh, recreate technological advances from the Stone Age. So we made arrowheads from flint and obsidian. We like chipped it and made arrows and stuff. We made like rock slings. One of the things we did, we made pots from clay from a local creek, and we fired it in the yard behind VLC. So yeah, just teaching that, like preparing a curriculum over the summer, like it's a long-term project that I saw through to completion, and I don't know, I feel like that gave me a lot of confidence, and also was really fun. So uh, I there is no way in hell that public school, would ever have even allowed that, right? So I don't know. I'm so happy that I could have done that.
Ben, maybe you could talk a little bit about, I don't know how much you have life beyond
Yeah,
BLC planned, but maybe you can
yeah,
just talk a little bit about that.
yeah. So in January, I just finished all my college applications. I'm hoping to go into physics or anthropology. Um, I know very different things, but um, yeah, I'm hoping to go on and get my PhD after that. Um, but after that, I really don't know. Uh, I yeah, I don't know what's after that, and I feel like I can figure it out. I've taken a couple college classes at the local community colleges, and I feel pretty prepared for that. So Yeah, I'm excited.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Kat.
Hi, I'm Kat. I was at RLC for 2 years, my junior and my senior year. And prior to that, I was in public school my whole life, so I didn't have any experience with homeschooling. Um, my freshman year was during COVID, so it was online, and then my sophomore year was my first year in public high school in person, and I struggled a lot socially, and I had a lot going on at home, which made attendance and stuff very difficult. So I had very low grades. My GPA wasn't great. Issues like that. And my mom became very worried that I was going to drop out, which I didn't anticipate doing, but it was a potential, risk if not just having a very, very low, GPA, not being able to get into any college. Um, and so she began looking at like homeschool opportunities in the area and found Raritan Learning Cooperative, which was in a town not far from us, not a bad drive, nothing too much of a hassle. And we met with Scott and Mary Beth and Allison, who were very welcoming and very kind. And it seemed like a great opportunity. They showed me around everything. They explained how everything worked, the self-directed schedule, everything where you pick up classes that you want to pick up and you go when you want to go. If you want to go, there's a sense of commitment, but it's up to the student to fulfill that, and it's very much on you with your mentor to guide you with that. Um, and I think for the first year, I definitely had trouble with that schedule because I had so much experience in public school where I was just doing as I was told all the time. It was very different, and I had to adjust. But I think in my senior year, I really took things seriously because initially I had intended to enlist in the Army or the Air Force. I actually joined Civil Air Patrol, which Allison, who was my mentor at the time, her son, I think, joined, and she was very supportive. Um, and I ended up not doing that. Obviously, I am in college at the moment, but I wanted to uh, motivate myself, and I think that really helped me too. Uh, and so I was never a big fan of math or anything really, as far as like educational learning in school prior to RLC, but I think making the choice to study that kind of thing because I knew it would benefit me directly in the future was the catalyst to me enjoying it. And that's not something I would have been able to find in public school. I'm certain of it because I was there for so long and I didn't. Um, and I think now that I'm in college, I see the benefits that I have. I think I've adjusted a lot better to the schedule here where it's also very self-directed. Some classes take attendance, some don't, but regardless, if you don't show up, you don't show up, and the consequences are on you, you know? And yeah, I'm very grateful for my time at RLC. I think it's taught me a lot.
Okay, great. Thanks. And Constantine.
Yes. Hi, I'm Constantine. I went to PLC almost 10 years ago now. I started right after middle school. I was in a middle school that was for kids with learning differences. I have or had, I mean, have still pretty severe dyslexia. And so we decided to go to that school because I wanted something that was kind of tailored more to like visual learning and like tactile learning. But as the kind of years progressed in that school, they kind of took away those privileges. Um, and I wanted something a little more self-directed, or I wanted to do things more my own way because I felt that the way that I was doing things were helping me learn more or get more out of a program or something like that. But they weren't really willing to do that. I also had difficulties with my teachers. Um, my parents were always big advocates of standing up for yourself and kind of questioning things. And so they gave us a lot of busy work, and I was always questioning what the point of the homework was. And I just got a lot of backlash and was sent to the principal's office and all these kinds of things. So my mom uh, did some research and found PLC, and she had previously kind of admired the more uh, um, uh, I guess it's Norway or maybe it's even the Netherlands. I can't remember, but the kind of schooling that they have up there where it's kind of half outdoors and half in classroom. And so she was kind of looking for something like that. And so she found PLC, and we went to a meeting, and I kind of just immediately fell in love with the concept of just being able to explore avenues that you would otherwise not be able to explore in kind of a traditional schooling system. Um, so we pulled the trigger and we kind of went for it. And um, uh, my first kind of couple of months at PLC, I think uh, Joel, who was my mentor, had kind of a term for it, which is the detox phase. And I think I had a little bit of trouble just kind of realizing that I can take my own life by its handles and just kind of do what an adult would normally do. And then I kind of realized that, and I kind of took off from there and kind of took or decided to do things my own way finally, which were kind of to do normal classes like history or writing, but kind of in the scope of a more filmmaking way. And that's kind of what my passion was film and becoming a filmmaker. And I remember actually one instance where I was in a meeting with Joel, and um, he basically said, "What what's stopping you from being a filmmaker right now?" And that kind of was like a click moment for me where I was like, "Oh my God, I am a filmmaker." So that kind of gave me a lot of empowerment, and so I did a lot of projects that had to do with filmmaking. I made a bunch of short films at PLC. I uh, made a documentary for PLC. Um, and along with some more narrative stuff, I took kind of a screenwriting class with um, with a volunteer that came in every week and kind of wrote scripts with me and kind of taught me how that goes. Um, and then I also, similarly to Kat, was like, um, I need math was something that I hated in school, but since I was kind of knew that I needed that background to get into colleges if I wanted to go to college, I decided to go to community college. And just the fact that I wanted to do it kind of changed the whole idea with math. And I actually ended up enjoying it. And I had fun because it was me wanting to do it and not somebody telling me to do it. And that was kind of huge. So I kind of slowly transitioned out of PLC doing half community college, half PLC. And then eventually in 2016, I moved on. Um, and then after PLC, I went on a gap year. I traveled a little bit, and and then eventually applied to various film schools. And then I settled on SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design. And I went there for 5 years. The pandemic kind of messed things up a little bit, so I kind of took my time towards the end, but I studied film and television at SCAD. Um, and I think one thing that I really noticed compared to my peers was that because of PLC and having this kind of responsibility to do my to pull my own weight and kind of do my projects and be on top of things and kind of be self-motivated to do all these things kind of came from being at PLC and just having I if I want to do something, I have to do it. If I want to make something happen, it's on me to make it happen. And so it kind of set me up very, very nicely for that. And then I graduated about 4 years ago from SCAD and moved to New York. And now I'm living in New York, working in the film industry. I work mainly in commercials, some television, as a either production assistant. I do some camera assisting, and mainly I work as an art department, art director or prop master. And I build a lot of things. Um, I do whatever needs to be done to kind of like get the pic I mean the background and like the set looking the way it needs to for whatever shoot that we're doing. Um, uh, yeah, and all that's freelance, which again, self-directed. So I'm kind of taking that kind of self-directed view through to my career and hopefully further on into my career. I'm currently working on raising money and producing a short film that I wrote, um, and get slowly getting the team together. I'm interviewing a bunch of producers, so that'll be coming out hopefully next year at some point. So yeah.
Well, awesome. Thanks so much. Thank you, everyone. So we'd like to move into some questions for our panelists. You can just shout them out if you like, or if you'd like to put them in the chat, we'll keep an eye on that. If you'd like to ask a specific panelist a specific question, feel free, or just if you want to just lob it for any of them to take. Uh, I can start actually. I have a question. Actually, I wanted to ask Ben this question specifically because you were very very sort of clear about how uh, you study the things that you're really interested in, and I'm just wondering for you. Maybe I heard a little bit from Constantine about this, and maybe Kat as well. But for you, Ben, what about the things that you don't like to do? How do those fit in? Do you work on those
Yeah.
things? How does that happen for you?
Uh, I think um, everything. I think one of the things for me to realize is that everything, like you should give everything a shot, right? Like I mean, like you're not gonna like everything, um, but you never know until you try them. So, for the things that you don't like, let's see. I'm just trying to think about the things I don't like. I have a lot of interests. I have a short attention span. Uh, what don't I like? Crap. You sprung that on me. I'm not very good at writing, I'll say. And so I think writing classes are definitely a struggle. Um, but I guess the skills I learned, like from learning the things I do like, I think I can force myself to see the value in things that I don't like. And I know they're necessary. And I think just your enjoyment of things is a lot of it is up to you. So if you can find little nuggets of fun in there, I think it I feel like I can manage it. I think just sucking it up.
Okay. Anyone else want to take that on? I mean, how about Kat? I feel like you might have something to say about that.
Yeah, sure. I uh, I took actually a math class last semester, and I enjoyed it. I didn't do super well, but I enjoyed it. And thankfully it was a pass-fail class, so it wasn't a problem. I did pass, but definitely with subjects that I didn't like. I know I've had a hard time with them, with being willing to study them, being willing to put in the time. But I think my time at RLC, um, definitely just the skill of being self-directed and understanding that you can and need to, put in the work for things. I think it translates a lot more than some people might anticipate into doing things that you don't want to do. If you are willing to take your future into your own hands, uh, that includes, and you're kind of subconsciously accepting that that might include things that you might not be completely 100% eager to do. Um, and you kind of put that aside and you make that choice to do them anyways. And I think that's definitely something that I've learned through my time at RLC.
Was there anything at RLC that you can remember doing that you weren't really keen on doing?
Um, Maybe math is all that I can think of, but I think Allison and my other tutor, I think Brian was, they were both great tutors, and I had a lot of, I felt very comfortable with both of them. Do you remember anything, Scott?
I don't know. I feel like there were times when you would be in the library studying something and you would kind of be doing it. You weren't like, "Ooh, I get to do this. I'm so excited to go to the library and study this." But you'd be like, "Nah, I'm gonna go work on this." And you'd work on it and it with
Yeah,
and because you kind of you had a goal for yourself just to and maybe the goal was just I just want to be done with this, right? And
yeah. I think I wanted to meet a quota hourly of like, okay, spend this amount of time on this and spend this amount of time on this. Um, I don't really remember exactly how I set up my schedule, just so that I made sure that I met my goals with everything. But I
Did
do
you
know
study
that
for,
oh, sorry.
no, Kat, did you study for a standardized test or something that
I
you
did. I took
opted
my
to take?
SAT
Yeah,
through
that's what I remember you
while I
going
was
in
at
the
RLC. I
library
took it
and
both
preparing
times.
for.
And I studied for the math section with Allison and with Brian, maybe partially, who is an independent tutor. And I got a lot of good advice for taking the actual test, and I got a lot of time to study on my own because I was not spending all my time all day every day in school studying other things. I got to kind of shift my focus to take the SAT, which was great. And I think I think I got like a 12 10 the second time I took it, which I was very I felt like I could have done better, but I ended up not retaking it a third time because um, I think it was a sufficient score, and I was happy enough with it. But yeah, I did study for the SAT in RLC, and I definitely was not thrilled about studying for all aspects of it, but I did it anyways, and I had a lot of support, and I'm very grateful for that.
I'd like to ask all of the four I don't know, you can't call them students, but the four speakers, what sort of good stuff do they remember from the traditional school that they had? What sort of good stuff can you remember that you didn't get at the learning cooperatives?
who wants to go first?
I can if nobody else does, but
Go
um
ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
um I think uh personally I think most of my friends that I ended up finding to be like long-term relationships were made through public school. although I had a lot of trouble socially with my high school, my 2 years in public high school. I made friends in middle school and stuff that have stood by me and continue to be very close friends of mine. And just personally, I think that they have lasted more than the ones I made in RLC. But I've also met people who are still very much in contact with friends that they made at RLC. And so it's definitely not everyone's experience, and it's totally possible to find like a good clique of friends there.
I just thought of one. I had to think about it for a while because it was not my favorite time of my life. But no, I for all the teachers that I had trouble with, there were a few that were really great in my middle school experience, and kind of saw that I was somebody who kind of learned differently and needed more of a hands-on experience. And so there were a couple of teachers who were very supportive of that. And also I really wanted to do film at a very early age, even still in middle school. And so I had one teacher in particular who kind of was also a film buff and kind of gave me the opportunity to take projects or turn projects that are geared more towards like kind of filmic things. So um, there are a few of those, but there were some teachers who were kind of more on the new wave of learning.
Okay, thanks. Ben or Natalie, would you like to, anything come to mind?
It's really hard for me to find much that's good that I remember, but um, I think there as socially like there's a lot of um, public schools are much bigger, so if there's someone you don't like, you just avoid them, right? You like don't talk to them. In a small group, if there's someone you don't get along with, you're always gonna have to talk to them. Um, uh, but again, I don't know how to like I can only uh turn this into a positive about BLC because um those like uh you know social groups that you have, the cliques are, can be really toxic, right? You don't talk to anyone outside of your group. Like if you're, the nerds and the jocks and whoever are separate. But I think like I don't know, at BLC those you know group, just the us and them mentality kind of fades away, and you think of everybody as your clique. And so you may not get along with everyone, but I think that I don't know, you just get to know them deeper. And I don't know, uh, I've made all of my current friendships at the learning cooperative, and you know I'm I'm very happy. Yeah. Unfair question, Paul.
And Natalie, is there anything you'd like to add?
Uh, I guess I guess I maybe I guess I read more. I hardly read anything now unless I like find it interesting. Um, but like I was kind of like forced to read there, so I did. Um, I can't think of anything aside from that.
Okay, that's fine.
Well, thank you for that. I was hoping, of course, you would say mathematics, but I guess no.
Are there any other questions? Any questions? Put them in the chat.
I have a question.
Sure.
So this is brand new to us. We're sort of exploring this for our daughter who's studying abroad right now, and she's in Spain, and it's her junior year now. So we're actually looking for just something for her senior year that's not going back to the private school where she was. She hasn't dealt with public schools. We're in Philly, and our public schools really are not an option here. Our particular public school is not. Um, so we're trying to decide between doing something like this or doing more of a like a self-directed or self compiled homeschool thing with like a couple community college classes and then working and volunteering and something that we put together and then get evaluated. What would be the advantage or disadvantage of you guys if you can all sort of think about if you're doing 1 year, would it be worth it to do something like this? What would be like hard about just coming in for 1 year?
I think I can kind of speak to that a little bit. I actually decided to leave PLC a year early than I would have if I had gone to a traditional high school. But in my last year of PLC, I kind of faded out and did more and more community college classes. And I think the benefit in my eyes is that for one, cost of colleges were were less expensive because I had credits already lined up. And I think also it kind of prepped me a little bit more for college because I was at home with my parents and kind of had their support, but also kind of started to get like a taste of what college might be like. And so, but also, still had the benefit of being at PLC and having that support as well. So it's for me, it was kind of beneficial to have this kind of like ease into the college experience, and I felt way more comfortable than I think some people might having come out of, high school and immediately getting thrown into um, this life where you're basically, you're by yourself. Um, you don't have kind of the support that you would have if you were kind of at home. Um, so, and also I would like to add as well that I I think that my going to PLC kind of gave me the opportunity to really know what I wanted to do before going to college. Whereas I feel like a lot of kids in the normal school system go to college and figure it out there, which is fine. I think that's one way to approach it. But um, I was way more um, solid on what I wanted to do in college and kind of confident about that and had then the motivation to really pull it through rather than kind of floundering my first year, um, which again is something to be said about the cost of, you know, your time there.
I can say something too. I'm in my senior year, and I think maybe one of the benefits is uh, the mentoring. My mentor, Eileen, has helped me compile everything for college, all the, uh, I have a lot of interests and I've done lots of little things. So helping me compile that into like a comprehensive transcript that a college would accept and that something I could be proud of. So I think that uh, I really needed that guidance to help me apply for college. So I really don't know what I would have done without her help.
I want to second that actually. Um, Joel, who was my mentor, and also Allison helped me a lot with my applications in a way that I feel like at 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 kind of traditional schools, you would kind of be left to do it with your parents, which is great, but also kind of left to your own devices. And at PLC, there's that kind of individual aspect, that one-on-one. It really feels like you're supported in finding whatever it is that you want to do, or where you want to go, or whatever it is.
I agree. Bouncing off of what Constantine and Benjamin both said, definitely the mentors are a big highlight. I think it's great to, as like considering I did most of my school years in a public school and had no experience with homeschooling. It's great to have someone who who does and who has multiple years of, helping students with homeschooling and uh, approaching college applications through homeschooling and all these different like minor things that you might not think about uh, right away. Um, that I think can give your child like the fullest potential for a homeschool experience in a lot of ways.
Thank you very much.
I might add, sorry, I might add that in the environment that you might find in a learning cooperative, there's a lot more space for an individual to find out who they are before they go into a college, and they can gain a whole lot of self-confidence by being in a small group with supportive people around them. So that's just one little idea.
Hi, my name is Elena. I'm a parent, obviously, of a Princeton High School student. I have two questions, and one is, I guess, for the panelists, and the other one is, I guess, more general. First is how, because Kat mentioned homeschooling, how involved did your parents end up being in this process? Because I know homeschool is very parent intensive, but this is not quite homeschooling. So, like, how much more effort do you think a parent needs to put in? Compared to regular high school. And the second question is, so there's always some, I think, survivor bias here. That what about kids who don't stop playing Tetris or whatever other video games during school? Like, do you think there's a danger someone might not find that motivation to do the work on their own? Okay, thank you.
I think that I mentioned earlier that I had kind of the what do you the Tea Talks phase that has been I guess is the name that was coined by the PLC folks. And I think it's normal, like you come out of experience of having everything kind of handed to you, but then eventually I feel like I saw this with myself and I saw this with everybody that I went to the learning cooperative with, that you just kind of have no choice. Like, like everybody has their own kind of inner voice that's kind of saying, like, get up and do something, you have to do something. And especially when you're younger, you get bored. And so eventually you just start doing stuff. And I would be surprised if somebody never does anything. Um, but that's my own experience. I just needed that time to decompress and kind of come out of my normal schooling experience and just take a breather and kind of see what's up. And then slowly it just kind of, developed and bloomed. And as for the parents' involvement, my parents are very much kind of, more uh, free-ranged parents. So they always like to let us kind of be and do our own thing. And so obviously my parents had some involvement, but for the most part, they kind of let me do my own thing and kind of trusted that the mentors at PLC would check in and you have every week you have one meeting with your mentor and you kind of run through the things that have been going on and anything that you might want to change or anything like that, or what classes you might be interested in for the next semester or whatever it is. And then, you know, my dad, however, comes from a very traditional background, and so he had a little bit of a harder time kind of letting go a little bit. But eventually he just saw how much I kind of bloomed in this environment and then was sold. But yeah, but both my parents also they were volunteers at PLC, so they came in and taught classes themselves. So they were environment and kind of saw what was happening. Yeah.
Um, Sorry, could you repeat the first question? I apologize.
Oh, my first question is how involved are parents compared to regular school?
I would say, well, for my mom, definitely, she was a lot more involved because, well, to be completely frank, when I was in high school, I would like hide report cards and stuff, notices from the school and stuff like that. But my attendance and issues like that, she would never get because I would hide them.
Now it's all online.
Oh yeah, that's
So
true.
that's not an option anymore, unfortunately.
And with RLC, there's not really any of that. There's no like they don't do like roll call really. Well, they do roll call, but it's not like punished if you are not there. It's very much self-directed in that way as well. Um, and they'll like check in if you are not there a few times, and you should be anything like that. But there's a lot less to I think there's a lot less of the child separating the parent as much as possible, or in my case at least, um, from the schooling. And there's a lot more like, I think it fosters a better open environment for the child to be willing to involve the parent in their education. Um, I know I was always very excited to talk about stuff that I did at RLC with my mom, and that was never something that I was super interested in when I was in public school, definitely. And then as for your second question, um, I think that it's entirely possible, to be honest, that a student might not um, find like the motivation in some ways to take on their education in that way in a self-directed manner. I think that it's very uncommon because I think that students who are giving this a try are already going in with it with something that like a lot of students that might not in, be willing to do that don't have, if that makes sense. Um, Sorry. And I think as well that uh, it depends on like the age. I think that as you get older, it's more natural to kind of be willing to take that kind of thing on. Compared to being like 9 or 10, you might not be ready to do that kind of thing. You might be. It's definitely possible, but I'm not an expert by any means. I'm just going off of what I saw in my 2 years at RLC. Um, but I've seen a lot more people flourish than flounder in that aspect, definitely.
Yeah, I agree with everything that was already said. And just, my parents were very apprehensive about BLC. They thought I would continue to play Tetris. Um, but I think everything is set up that um, so that you will eventually kind of find your calling. Like everything is in place, and you just have to make the decision. And I don't know, when I look at my friends, a lot of times they like, all of a sudden like come into their own, and like there's sort of relevate that whatever. They blossom, they bloom, and it takes a different amount of time for different people, but I I don't think I've seen it where it hasn't happened. I think everyone that I know has kind of had that epiphany.
Yeah, and I think if I could just add as a staff member at RLC, um, in terms of parental involvement, we see a wide range of parents, especially kids often who are coming from a homeschool environment already, and parents are very, going here and there, and then they have RLC as a home base. um, they tend to often be involved, but it's very very much a range of parental involvement, and some parents are just happy to have their kid going someplace and full time, and we're there, the mentors are there to support them, and moving forward with narrative transcript and all of that kind of stuff. And as for your second question, and Allison, maybe you can articulate this a little bit better. I'll try to do a good job here. But so for every kid, it's different. It really just is very different. I mean, one, like, it sounds like Ben, like you just, it was like pretty quick, the opportunity was there and you put the Tetris down and you were just doing your thing. And yeah, there are some kids who it takes a little longer, and a little longer and a little longer. But if we think about it in terms of how younger kids are just kind of following their interests, like what's fun, what's fun, what's fun. And then as they get older, they start to, it's like the middle years, like they're called the middle because they're in between sort of just following what's fun, but then they also start to develop an eye on the future, and they start to think about what it's like, oh, maybe I need to do this in order to get that, in order to get that. And so as they develop through their high school years, and I think what the panelists were saying here is that they sort of come out the other end, and most of the time they're really sort of they found their way in some way. Which is not to say that sometimes it's hard. It's hard as a parent. My own child, I can say, sometimes it's hard that adults want these things to happen faster for kids. So we try to just let it happen more naturally.
Yeah. Sorry, I know we're
Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
running out of time, but my sister also goes to BLC with me, and I kind of I think we had definitely had the experience you were talking about, where it took a really long time for them to kind of yeah, come to a realization, like eventually, find their calling. Like I said, it took a long time and it was hard, but it did happen. So I have a personal I've seen that pretty close up.
Thank you.
Say something about that. I I feel like I've seen a lot of people who don't go to their classes. A lot of the time, people just kind of choose not to. But I feel like that's kind of why the mentors are there. Like um, they're really good at just kind of like pushing to go in, but not being like, you're not like forced to. Yeah.
Thank you.
We do encourage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Nat.
and we talk about commitment too. So, like making a commitment to something, especially for volunteers. So a lot of the classes are taught by volunteers. And it's like if volunteers made the effort to come here to teach this class, and there's a commitment here.
I second what Allison said. I think that was very heavily pushed, and I definitely felt that as a good motivator when I was there. Definitely.
I also agree with that. Like, I think learning at a young age, commitment, and like you signed up to do something, and then if you fail, sometimes volunteers take the time out of their day to come and be with you and teach something. And there's been many times where I overslept or whatever and forgot to go, and then obviously you reap the consequences of that. And learning that at a young age, now I'm like, I put everything in my calendar. I'm so vigilant about remembering to be places on time and all that things. And that stuff I learned at PLC because
Yeah. I
because it was
remember that, Constantine.
yeah,
I think I remember, it just came to me as you talked about it, like a time when you forgot something and you were just mortified. You were mortified. I remember it.
yeah,
And wow, and it's really just stayed with you. That's so interesting. And it's nice to make that mistake in that moment,
yeah, and
right?
it's so
You were
important.
17. Yeah.
Yeah. And so many people that I know that are my age have such a different idea of committing to something or flaky or whatever. and you know, not being held accountable for that kind of stuff, I feel like is kind of um, a, a downfall of their experience as, as young adults. Um, and I'm very grateful for that kind of, you know, to just to be accountable for your own mistakes. But then also, like you learn, and I see so much of that not happening where you don't get to make mistakes. And I feel like in a normal schooling system, I experienced that a lot because everything was handed to me.
Mhm.
So, well, it's 8:07. And unless there's any last question, I think we'll wrap it up. Thank you so much. I don't see any more questions here in the chat. If you think of a question, like I said, we'll be sending out this email with the recording. Feel free to respond to that, and or you can reach out to us directly at our website, raritanlearningcooperative.org, or princetonlearningcooperative.org, or buckslearningcooperative.org. I think that's it. Thanks, Natalie, Kat, Constantine, Ben.
Thank you.
You guys were awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
thanks
very
so
much.
Thank you
much.
so much for inviting
Really
me.
great job.
For coming out. Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Love
This
to
is
hear
really
from you
helpful.
guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Also,
Thank you.
Scott, could you guys send me the email as well? I don't know if that was
Sure.
sent to me. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Thank you, guys. Goodbye.
All
Thanks,
right.
Ben.
Take care.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Ben.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Great night. Thank you all.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you, Constantine. So good.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're still there, Christine.
Yeah, I was going to say, Christine, I don't know if we got your question fully answered about classes.
Yeah.
I was drafting the same message, Allison, to say the website has.
Yeah. It's under the how it works. So I don't know if you're there, but it's under the how it works area. And I don't know which center you're most interested in.
Yeah. And more generally, the answer to the question is that any class can be on the schedule. It's really driven by what the team members request to the best of our ability. So like at the moment, we have an unfulfilled request for a Norwegian language and culture teacher. So we
Well,
haven't been able to
Natalie's.
fill that one quite yet, but typically we're able to, and either put something on the schedule as a class or get a one-on-one tutor.
Yeah. And then
Right.
that's what we do in mentoring is like if we can't find, a person to work with, we'll look at other options, right? How can we fulfill the learning in this area? So,
Mary Beth, you want to stop the recording?
Yeah.
all right.
Wait, where's the button to stop recording?
I just see it up in the upper right. It just
Oh,
says
here we go. I see it here.